Hi, friends. I'm Adrienne Balcom, and welcome to the Adrienne Balcom Show. Today, we're talking about a court proceeding that drew attention across McLendon-Chisholm and Rockwall County. What happened in court, what the dismissal means, and why the story continues to spark conversations through our community. Let's start with how we got here. Earlier this year, former Mayor Brian McNeil and Councilmember Dennis London filed a Rule 202 petition seeking information from Meta related to anonymous Facebook activity. If you're not familiar with Rule 202, it's a legal process that allows someone to gather information before deciding whether to file a lawsuit. In some cases, it can also be used to identify potential parties. One detail that caught people's attention was how the petition described the individuals filing it. The document identified them as private citizens and did not mention that they were serving as elected officials at the time. The petition was filed on April 21st, 2026, just hours before the publication of my article examining public records related to Brian McNeil's military history. Not surprisingly, the filing generated a lot of discussion. The issues involved anonymous speech, criticism of public officials, and the role social media plays in local politics. But it's important to understand that this conversation didn't start with the Rule 202 petition. People had already been debating anonymous social media accounts for months. Some of you may remember discussions surrounding a Facebook profile known as Eric Logan. In February 2026, Sherry London, the administrator of the Concerned RCH Customers Facebook group and wife of Dennis London, publicly stated that she did not post anonymously and did not participate in anonymous activity on the Rockwall County Exposed Facebook page. Around the same time, there was ongoing discussion about the Eric Logan account and whether any local political figures had ties to it. In Facebook comments, Dennis London stated that neither he, Brian McNeil, nor Sherry London had any involvement with that account. Later, when asked to provide a sworn statement, Dennis London signed an affidavit stating that he did not create, operate, control, contribute to, or post from the Eric Logan account. It's important to note that the affidavit that addressed Dennis London's own involvement, it did not make statements on behalf of Brian McNeil, Sherry London, or anyone else. Regardless of where someone stands on those explanations, the larger point is this: anonymous social media accounts had already become a topic of public debate long before the Rule 202 petition was filed. Those same issues later became a central focus of the petition, the exhibits attached to it, and public comments surrounding the case. The petition identified numerous social media accounts and requested information from Meta related to those accounts. Among them was an account called You Lost Adrienne Balcom, which had previously published posts, comments, and political memes critical of me and this publication. The petition does not explain why each individual account was included in the request. If you'd like to review the record for yourself, I've included the screenshots of the Facebook post and comments, Dennis Lennon's affidavit, court filings, and related documents in the article on adriennebalcom.com. And that background helps explain why so many people were paying close attention to what happened next. Fast forward to June 12th. I went to the courthouse expecting to observe what I thought would be a hearing related to the petition. Instead, what took place was more of a status check on the case. Based on the court records and information available through the court, the proceeding was ultimately dismissed for want of prosecution. Now, that's an important distinction. The judge did not rule on the underlying allegations. The court did not decide who was right or wrong. The dismissal simply brought the proceeding itself to an end. While I was at the courthouse, I did not see representatives from Ashmore and Ashmore, nor did I see Brian McNeil or Dennis London present. So, court records also reflected scheduling communications following the May election, and ultimately, a dismissal order was signed on June 12th. For those who have been following this case, that distinction matters. A dismissal for want of prosecution is very different from a judge hearing evidence and issuing a ruling on the merits of a case. In other words, this proceeding ended without the court reaching those larger questions that many people have been waiting to see addressed. And that brings us to why people care. For some residents, this case became about more than a court filing. It became part of a larger conversation about leadership, trust, and how elected officials respond when difficult questions are raised. Many readers will remember that the petition was filed on the same day my article was published examining public records related to Brian McNeil's military history. Some residents viewed those events as completely unrelated. Others felt the timing deserved closer attention. As someone who has spent years attending meetings, reviewing records, and reporting on local government, what stood out to me wasn't just the filing itself, it was the reaction. And some people wanted answers, some people wanted accountability, and some people simply wanted the conversation to end. But communities don't grow stronger by avoiding difficult conversations. They grow stronger when people are willing to have them openly, respectfully, and honestly. What became clear from the conversations I heard and the messages I received is that many residents were looking for clarity. Some were frustrated by what they felt was a lack of discussion surrounding the controversy. Others were ready to move on and focus on the future. I believe there's a larger lesson here. Trust is difficult to earn and easy to lose. And lately, I've noticed that words like transparency and accountability get used a lot in politics. The real test isn't whether leaders say those words. The real test is whether their actions reflect them. People want honesty, people want consistency, and people want to know that the same standards apply to everyone. Sometimes that means addressing uncomfortable questions. Sometimes it means acknowledging mistakes. And sometimes it simply means being willing to engage in conversations that would be easier to avoid. As voters and residents, we have responsibilities too. Local government matters. Who serves on city council, boards, commissions, and other public bodies, they all matter. The decisions being made today affect our neighborhoods, our taxes, future development, and the direction our communities that will take place for years to come. Leadership matters because the quality of those decisions matter. That's why it's important to pay attention, ask questions, and take the time to learn about the people seeking public office before casting a ballot. The dismissal of this proceeding may bring this particular court matter to a close, but the conversations surrounding anonymous speech, community engagement, leadership, and trust are likely to continue. And as we move closer to the November election, you'll hear candidates and political organizations talking about unity, leadership, and the future. My advice is simple: look beyond the slogans, look beyond the endorsements, take the time to review the record, ask questions, and evaluate candidates based on what they do, not just what they say. One of the reasons I started this website was not only to ask tough questions when they need to be asked, but also to celebrate the people, businesses, and organizations that make our community special. Before I go, I like to highlight someone from the trusted local directory. This week's spotlight is Wicklands Sweet Connection. If you ever needed custom cookies, cakes, or themed treats for a special event, Lee has built a reputation for creating desserts that are every bit as impressive as they are delicious. We had a reader recently recommend Wickland's Sweet Connection after ordering custom Devil Wears Prada themed cookies that were an absolute hit. It's always fun discovering talented local business owners who bring creativity and passion to what they do. And that's exactly why I created the community recommendation section of my website. You can find more recommendations at adriennebalcom.com. And if there's a business, organization, nonprofit, or service provider you'd like to recognize, there's a simple submission form right on the page. Some of my favorite discoveries have come from reader recommendations, and I love to hear about the people making a positive impact in our community. Thank you for joining me for the very first episode of the Adrienne Balcom Show. For links to today's article, court records, supporting documents, and additional resources, visit adriennebalcom.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, I hope you'll share it with a friend and join me for the next one. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Adrienne Balcom Show. I'm Adrienne Balcom, and I'll see you next time.